All right, good morning. Thank you for being here today. As you see, as the district attorney, we're very fortunate in San Bernardino County that we have a great partnership, especially when it comes to fighting fires and arsonists in San Bernardino County. That's why I wanted to have our partners up here with us today, because it's not just one agency. As you can see, it's multiple agencies, and even more importantly than that, the people that were on the front lines fighting the fires. It's an awesome team, and we're very thankful and grateful for the work that they have done, and that includes not only San Bernardino County, the San Bernardino County Sheriffs, the San Bernardino Police Department, the law enforcement side, but all of the firefighters, Cal Fire, U.S. Forestry Service, the federal government here, County Fire, and everybody else that assisted if I left any names out. Today, the District Attorney's Office, just a few minutes ago, filed charges on an individual by the name of Jarrod Samra, age 23, count 1, arson that created a great bodily injury to a Cal firefighter. 8 counts of arson, 8 different fires that occurred in basically, we call it the East Valley area of San Bernardino County, and some towards San Bernardino itself. The individual that was charged today has a maximum exposure to 19 years in state prison. We've assigned it to one of our top prosecutors in the office who has a lot of experience regarding arson cases. For those of you in the media that want to know, the arraignment today is going to be, I believe, at 1 p.m. I believe it's a video arraignment. This is extremely important to those of us that live in this county. I don't need to remind you the history of arson in this county, going back to the Panorama fire years ago, and of course what happened in the old fire. And the great thing about this investigation and arrest is, although we had a serious injury to one of our first responders, our firefighter, we prevented any other tragic event or any other loss of life with the great work of all the partners standing with me. So I want to thank them all the people on the front line, for doing this great work. At this time, I am fortunate to work with one of the best sheriffs in America, and I'd like to introduce to you Sheriff John McMahon. Sheriff.
Thank you, Mike, and good morning. As a result of multiple fires, over 7 arson fires that occurred since June, law enforcement and fire personnel formed a task force. The goal was to exchange information and identify the suspect responsible for these fires. The involved agencies included CAL FIRE, U.S. Forest Service, San Bernardino County Fire, the Sheriff's Bomb Arson Detail, detectives from the Highland, Central, and Yucaipa stations from the Sheriff's Department, along with detectives from the San Bernardino Police Department. Using investigative tools such as ALPR and others, and gathering evidence, led them to a common subject that was responsible for multiple fires by the name of Jarrod Samra. On Thursday, August 3rd, detectives were preparing search warrants and arrest warrant when the Bryant fire was started in Yucaipa. Once the Bryant fire was started, deputies dispatched the information to responding deputies as to the description of the vehicle and the subject, Jarrod Samra. They saw Samra's vehicle and immediately made contact with him and detained him near the Bryant fire. After serving several search warrants and interviewing Samra, he was arrested, and as you just heard, the District Attorney's Office has filed multiple charges of arson. This is a fine example of public safety coming together, working together to help make all of our communities safe. It's now my pleasure to introduce the San Bernardino County Fire Chief, Mark Hartwig.
Thank you, Sheriff McMahon and DA Ramos. I think first and foremost, I'd like to recognize the hard work of the men and women who investigate these fires. There was a task force formed by all the agencies within the county, but really that took into account the evidence that was collected and the hard work being done at these fire scenes by these investigators. Thank you, Sheriff McMahon, for dedicating resources, and DA Ramos for being committed to putting arsonists behind bars, and of course the arson task force as well, County Fire, County Sheriff, U.S. Forest Service, Cal Fire, San Bernardino PD, and any other and every other fire agency that had suspicious activity within their county. I need to tell you, San Bernardino County fire agencies take arson personally. I personally find it unbelievable that anyone would intentionally inflict the kind of indiscriminate death and destruction caused by wildfire. We know all too well in this county the heartbreaking loss of life and property caused by wildland fire. Any one of the fires that Mr. Samra is being accused of starting, any one of them really had the potential of the conflagrations that we've seen in this county. Many of us, if not all of us, can still visualize men and women running for their lives from their vehicles on I-15. Homes destroyed in the Blue Cut fire. Images of homes, houses, properties, wildlife, and livestock wiped out in fire in this county. The heartbreaking detail of families who have lost everything in this county. Fire agencies within San Bernardino County are committed to working with law enforcement, local law enforcement agencies, to find any person or people responsible for arson within this county. Now I'd like to introduce Supervisor James Ramos.
Well, thank you, and I'd like to take the opportunity to thank the brave men and women who are on the front lines, the firefighters that have fought these fires. Your bravery and courage to protect our communities from the imminent dangers of these fires is truly appreciated and commended. And when fires are intentionally caused with malice and the purpose to create havoc becomes a heightened threat to our community, a task force comes together with those that are here assembled today to ensure the community that their safety and public safety of all is something we take very seriously here in San Bernardino County. I am thankful through the county collaborations and the endless efforts of the task force that we have apprehended the individual that has caused devastation throughout our communities. Our residents can now and continue to know that public safety is foremost the top priority in San Bernardino County. And to the community, those that have called in with the tip lines, giving us information to lead to the apprehension of this individual, we want to thank the community for that. And again, we want to reiterate, if you see something, say something. On behalf of San Bernardino County, we want to thank everyone that's assembled here today in the community, and to let everybody know that public safety is a top priority here in San Bernardino County.
Thank you, James. Okay, at this time, we'd open it up to any questions you may have. Yes.
8 fires, is it just over the past 6 weeks? The chief was referencing the North Fire. Are there any other fires in years past?
I think that we are talking about the fires that just occurred this week, right, Chief? Yes, and in I think starting June 27th, sometime in that period, right?
And am I correct in understanding you had already fingered this guy when the Bryant fire broke out and he was spotted near the scene?
There was a great work, great investigation, and there were multiple pieces of evidence even prior to that. But at that point in time, with all of the pieces of the investigation in place, that was where this individual was apprehended and taken into custody.
Tell us about
To protect the integrity of this case and his rights, we really can't say much about him. I gave you his name, I gave you his age, he's 23, but we really can't go into any of those specifics at this time.
Experience as a firefighter?
I believe there may have been I'll call it, John, do you know? I'll let the sheriff explain.
The suspect in this case was a person of interest the day before the Bryant fire started. And so as soon as that fire started in Yucaipa, information was put out to the responding deputies that he was a person of interest. His vehicle and he were located close to that fire. As it relates to any prior experience, our information is that at one point in time, he was a fire explorer, but aged out of the program at 21 and has not been involved in any fire agency since.
You were talking about ALPR. For those who are watching, I know you can't go into how you track this guy down, but give us some background on how he came up the list.
Yeah, automated license plate reader system. So that information captures license, or that system captures license plates. So once information was starting to come forward that he may be a person of interest, those databases can be checked to see if that vehicle was present at any of the fires. That vehicle was picked up by the ALPR system at places that were close to the other fires. That's about all I can talk about specifically as it relates to that.
His occupation and hometown? It's currently,
You might have to come over here. Detective Brandt was one of the lead investigators from the Highland Station, and he has more specific information.
He currently works for a construction company the past 6 months. He was construction company, 6 months. He originally was from the city of Highland, lived in Highland.
Well, I guess a couple of questions. A lot of people, when they see this many fires all happening in the same area around the same time of day, it almost seems like, people start to think, okay, there's a fire bug out there. Can you talk to us about what similarities there may have been to make you come to that conclusion that, yes, I think we're dealing with an arsonist here? And also, what's the message to other potential arsonists who may have to do it?
I don't want to get into a lot of detail as far as the investigation is concerned, but it's public information that those fires, for the most part, started near roadways, in multiple areas along the foothills, from Highland, actually in San Bernardino to Highland over to Yucaipa. Similar in where they were in relationship to the road, similar to the time of day, and there was evidence found at each one of those scenes that was similar amongst all the fires. And I'll leave it at that.
was there a lot of public input? Social media?
I know you don't want to get in here, but that's all right.
We had a lot of information from the citizens, social media, things of that nature.
So people were
Yes.
keeping an eye out?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Let me follow up and answer your other question about the message we want to send to arsonists. Make no mistake, this district attorney's office is going to hold them fully responsible. Thank God we didn't have a loss of life. We have one of the fewest cases in America because of loss of life in another fire where that individual was prosecuted and is sitting on death row. So I will guarantee you, anybody that wants to commit arson in this county, we're going to file those charges and hold you to the fullest extent of the law, because we are going to protect our citizens and our property. And because of the geographical dynamics of this county, we want to tell you and anybody that's thinking about this, that this team and this office is going to hold you responsible.
Hardwick, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
I know you can't, Chief Hardwick.
Yeah, please, Chief.
I know you can't talk specifically about this particular case, but in general, when you're dealing with someone who's labeled a serial arsonist, what is the psychology behind that? Why do they normally do it? What is their reasoning for doing this?
There's lots of information out there on arsonists, and a lot of work people do to try to figure out what the link is. I would tell you, I don't know. I can't tell you as a firefighter, but I can speak for the firefighters on the line. firefighters that put themselves between the fire and the communities they serve every day, that it is unthinkable that anybody would purposely, indiscriminately, knowing that it could lead to serious injury and death, and the destruction that we see here in this county every year. It's unbelievable. That's the best way for us to put it. And I can tell you, for firefighters that put their lives on the line each and every day, they do everything they can to make sure that they preserve the evidence so that the DA and the sheriff and the fire marshal's office and this task force can prosecute people responsible for it.
Can someone address the firefighter who was hurt, how he was hurt, the great bodily injury, and how he's doing?
Well, I can tell you this, I haven't been on the scene of any fire this year yet that there hasn't been some health issue related to fighting the fire. Sometimes it's just a heat exhaustion. Sometimes it's more serious. Sometimes it results in hospitalization. And in some cases, it results in more serious injury. As far as the specific one on this case, I'll defer over to the DA.
Yeah, I think in this case, the great bodily injury was the firefighter suffered a broken leg, if that is correct. And that's what happened when he was fighting this fire.
Mr. Ramos, let me
Yes.
ask you that question, because you prosecute cases like this.
Yes.
Is there a common thread with these arsonists and why they do it? Have you guys been able to come to some sort of commonality with why they would do this? Because it's unthinkable to me as well.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, and in all my years of doing this job, I wish I could give you an answer of what it is they're doing. It depends on the case. Each case is different. You know, there are some that I think the term was mentioned, you know, a firebug. They like to go out there and they like to start fires. There are others that have issues, whether it's narcotics and drugs. There's others that have issues with intentionally setting a fire for retribution purposes or whatever the case may be. So there are just so many factors.
But in this case, you haven't found a motive, per se. The reason why did he like to see the firefighters in action?
Right. At this point in time, we do not know that at this point.
Do you have any ballpark figure of the extraordinary costs that public safety agencies incurred on these?
We're doing everything we could over the last 24 hours to put a dollar figure to it. I can tell you it's in the millions of dollars specifically to mobilize and respond and then to stay and fight, contain, and then mop up the fires. Just the fires in question are over $1 million.
Okay, maybe one more question. Any others? All right.